Let me show you how to say and hear thank you in giraffe. If you have these ears on, I predict that on about your second or third day that you have these ears on, it'll occur to you what all of a sudden hit me one day. That human beings are only saying at any time one of two things. That's all human beings are. Can you guess what these two things are that human beings are saying? Please and thank you. That's all I'm convinced that human beings are ever communicating. Now, certainly jackal-speaking people say please in a funny way. Like here is a jackal-speaking person saying please. The problem with you is, what a tragic way of saying please, that when somebody's behaving in a way that is not in harmony with your needs, instead of having a language that helps to clearly communicate what's going on inside in a way that stimulates compassion, cooperation, how tragic to be taught to say please in the form of judgment and criticism. Because unless the person that you're saying it to has these ears, they don't hear the pleas. They don't hear the pain. They don't hear the unmet needs. They hear it as an attack and then attack back, and we all know where that goes. So tonight we have been focusing largely on this message, how to say please in giraffe, because I started this off saying I asked you to think of a jackal who was behaving in a way that you weren't happy with. But now let's look at the other message, how to say and hear thank you in giraffe. First, let's see how a jackal says thank you. You did a very good job. You are a very kind person. Can you see why that's jackal? Why is that jackal? Now, it's a judgment, exactly. Positive judgment, praise, compliment are just as much jackal as criticism. But it works. What do you mean it works, jackal? Well, I'm a jackal manager. I just returned from some management training. They taught us that if you give praise and compliments to employees every day, they work harder. Yes, Jackal, I'm aware of that research, and it's accurate. They do, for a while, until they sense the manipulation in it. And then, notice, Jackal, that even ruins a message as beautiful as thank you. When people need to start worrying, is this being said to get something from me? So, that's how jackals give appreciation in terms of judgment. But notice that whenever we use a positive judgment, we bring into our consciousness the negative. The two always go together. If you think there's such a thing as a kind person, then you think there's such a thing as an unkind person. If you think there's such a thing as a normal person, then you think there's such a thing as an abnormal person. So you fill your consciousness with judgment. And for every judgment like that that we carry in our consciousness, life is hell. Because it involves judging and being judged. But as giraffes, I hope by now I have convinced you that all judgments are simply tragic expressions of need, value. We can be more honest by saying I would like than by saying to the other person, you're wrong. That's inappropriate. So, how does a giraffe say thank you? First of all, the giraffe only says thank you when the motives are to celebrate. There's no attempt to get something back from the other person. Now, what do we do to say the appreciation in giraffe? We say three things. We want to make three things very clear to the other person. These three things. Almost the same as the please, but it's a little different because now what we are observing is something that the person has done that is making life more wonderful for us. Whereas when we say please, what we are telling the person is something they're doing that is detracting from our enjoyment of life. So we start with a clear observation, and now we express a feeling, but now it's going to be a pleasurable feeling. Whereas when we say please, we're expressing painful kinds of feelings. And third, now we're going to tell what need of ours has been fulfilled by the other person's action. Whereas when we say please, we say what need of ours has not been fulfilled. Let me give you an example of what this sounds like. I was in Geneva, Switzerland, and at the end of a workshop, a woman comes up to me, and she says, "You're brilliant." I said, "It doesn't help." She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "I have been called a lot of names in my life. I've never learned by being told what I am. I'm guessing you want to give me an appreciation." She said, "Yeah, and I'd like to receive it, but I'm not getting the information that I need to really enjoy your thank you." "Well, what do you want me to tell you?" "Well, rather than you telling me what I am, could you tell me what I've done that's made life more wonderful for you?" "Well, you're so intelligent." Doesn't help. Doesn't help. That's still an analysis. I really need to know, what did I do? Now, that was not easy for this woman to do, because she was a jackal-speaking person. But she thanked me afterwards for pushing her on this, because she better appreciated her own appreciation when she really did get clear what it was that she was appreciating. It turned out that it was two things I had said. She had written them down in a notebook. She had underlined them and put a star by it. So already, just being real clear about what I had done, that she would observe, already I got more out of the appreciation than the vague judgment, "You're brilliant," or "You're so intelligent." Now, I said to the woman, "Now that I see what behavior on my part you're reacting to, I'd like to know, how do you feel about my having said that?" She said, "I feel so relieved and hopeful." Oh, yeah, I hear feelings in those two words. Now I knew what she was feeling. And third, I said, "And what need of yours was fulfilled by my having said that?" She said, "I have this 18-year-old son that I've never been able to communicate with. And I have just been desperately searching for any kind of direction that would help me connect with him. And those two things you said gave me the direction I've been needing." Well, now I could feel wonderful about her appreciation, because I could see the three things that I need to see, that I think anybody needs to see to really benefit by an appreciation. To clearly see what we have done that has enriched another person's life. To get some consciousness of what feelings are going on in that person as a result of it. To see clearly what needs have been fulfilled through our actions. Now, of course, it's easy to be a lazy giraffe. How does a lazy giraffe say thank you? Thank you. Of course, in the course of a day's time, we may choose as a giraffe to be a lazy giraffe much of the time, to just say thank you for this or that. But giraffes want to have the ability for those things which really have touched us as people, that we really feel deeply about, that other people often don't really understand how much they have given to us. Then is when we might want to express the appreciation in this more classical giraffe way.